It's Locked On Canucks, where it is the off season, but still we have to be cognizant of what is going on around the world of hockey. So I'm going to give you guys my picks for the Stanley Cup playoffs from the point of view of a Canucks fan, explain why we are wired the way we are wired in certain instances, and it is day one of our greatest Canucks series, where we go back to the first man who led the Canucks to the Stanley Cup finals. It's Locked On Canucks, and it starts now.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Wednesday, May the 4th episode of Locked On Canucks. I'm, of course, your host, Justin Pooni. You can find me at _process sports on Twitter. You can also find us on YouTube at Locked On Canucks, where, of course, we are putting our beautiful podcast on video format as well. I also want to thank you for making Locked On Canucks your first listen of the day. We are available wherever you get your podcast services, and of course, we are free. So today, I kind of went on that big long soliloquy rant about the Canucks and Jim Rutherford, and kind of touched on all that stuff, kind of got all that stuff kind of out of the way. I feel pretty confident about what I said about how Bruce Boudreau, I don't think, will be back. JT Miller will probably be back if he wants to be and wants to, agree to Jim Rutherford's terms, and how it is so evident that he is now running the franchise the way he wants to run it. And if you don't like it, you're not going to be a part of it going forward. So that's that. But for today's episode, look, the Canucks are not in the playoffs. We know that. But I want to touch on what's going on in the hockey world because, of course, it is the Stanley Cup playoffs. You cannot forget about that. It is the Stanley Cup playoffs. It is the best time of year. And I want to go through my Stanley Cup picks and just give you guys my predictions, because you know what? We're going to do it from the point of view of a Canucks fan. And I'm also going to touch on, a little bit of the, not hate, but why Canucks fans and why we are wired to despise certain markets. That being the Toronto Maple Leafs. And you're not going to want to miss that because that's going to come up in a few minutes. But last night, it was a great night of hockey. Great night of hockey. The first two nights have been actually very impressive for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Last night, it was a triple overtime game in New York. MSG, the Penguins came out with the win. The Capitals, who I predict to beat the Florida Panthers, won 4-2. The Avalanche, flexed their muscles on Nashville. And the Dallas Calgary game, extremely boring. Jacob Markstrom only got 16 shots on, and the Flames won 1-0. And then today is a full slate of games today. Edmonton looks to get back into that series. Same with Minnesota, of course, the Leafs and Lightning, and the Bruins in Carolina. So from a Canucks fan point of view, from a guy who grew up or bleeds Canucks blue and green, I'm going to give you guys my picks that some might think are absolutely brilliant, which, I hope you guys all do, but also some might think it's extremely objective. But quite frankly, I don't care what you have to think, because my ideology and my way of thinking is superior. I'm kidding. But no, this is just like a gut feeling, and just watching the season and kind of going through what I feel would be the best outcome for the Stanley Cup playoffs. So first, let's start off in the Eastern Conference. I think the Washington Capitals will close this out against the President's Trophy winner, the Florida Panthers, simply because Roberto Luongo, love him to death, but he also screwed us with the cap recapture penalty, and I never want to see Florida have any success. I don't want to, and plus I just don't think Florida is a true hockey market. And also Florida, for the last few years that they've been a perennial playoff team, have not gone out of the first round. And they probably got the worst draw going up against the Washington Capitals a Stanley Cup champion team, a team that has pedigree, a team that has the greatest goal scorer of our generation in Alexander Ovechkin. And you saw it last night. Sergei Bobrovsky did not look that good. So I believe the Washington Capitals will win this series in 7 games against the Florida Panthers because they've been there, done that. Nobody in the Panthers really has that much experience. You have Sam Bennett, who's a former, former Calgary Flame, who I don't really like. You have Huberto, who's a great player. Barkov's a great player, but they just don't have playoff experience. So therefore, I take the Washington Capitals in 7 games. Then we go to. I'm going to skip the other Atlantic Division series because that one's going to take a little bit of time to explain. Then we got the Bruins. Let's go to the Metro Division where it's the Bruins and the Hurricanes. I think Carolina is my Stanley Cup pick to win this year. I just think I love their depth. I love, guys like Aho Teravainen. They have elite level skill. I love Rod Brindamore as a coach. I think the Hurricanes have a complete team thanks to guys like, Jim Rutherford, who laid the foundation of that organization decades before. And they had to go under a new change and stuff like that. But I'm sure if you ask people in Carolina, they still have remnants of Jim Rutherford in that area. So I'm going to go with the Hurricanes. I'm going to say 6 games. Look, I don't like Boston. We know the history of Boston. We know the history of Marchand and all those guys. Kudos to them for being around for so long, but they're old now. And it's just the goaltending situation in Boston kind of scares me. I don't really trust, the Linus Ullmark. He's not really that guy. I've never been a big Taylor Hall fan. I think he plays reckless abandon. I think he's quite overrated. That year he won the Hart Trophy. I don't think he deserved to win. I thought that should have been Nathan McKinnon, but he got hurt, and the writers gave it to Taylor Hall, who played for New Jersey and ended up not doing anything anyway. So we're gonna go with the Carolina Hurricanes. That will be a 6-game series. And the next one, we saw game 1 last night. I think this is the last dance for the Pittsburgh Penguins as currently constructed. I don't know if Malkin and Letang will be back next year. I potentially, but you're getting a lot of like the last dance type of vibes with this core. Like this is their last real shot at winning a Stanley Cup. And I expect them to go up against a young New York team who has, the best goalie in the NHL, Igor Shesterkin, who proved it last night with 70 plus saves. Unbelievable. And former Canuck Louis Domingue coming out with the win. Very impressive, Louis Domingue. It was a great story last night. Louis Domingue coming in relief and winning the game for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think the Penguins win. This is going to be a slugfest this year. This is the one I'm most intrigued to watch on a non bias or non intrigue form, just strictly hockey based. I'm very excited to see the Rangers and Penguins battle it out back and forth because it will be a back and forth thing. Look, Chris Kreider had an unbelievable year this year. Adam Fox is an elite level defenseman. Artemi Panarin, Shesterkin, as mentioned, Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Raquel, Gensel. There are big name players in this series, and you're playing at the Mecca MSG in New York, and you're playing for probably the most successful organization post-lockout, the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I think this is a great first-round matchup. This goes 7, and I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Penguins because I feel Crosby, Malkin, and Letang will they have that mission in their mind to capture cup number 4, and I think they will get past the first round. Now, let's go to, before we go to the West, let's talk about the Maple Leafs versus the Washington Capitals. Now, for those of you that know me, you know that I despise the Toronto Maple Leafs. Next to the Dallas Cowboys, they are the second thing, or maybe they're number 1 on my list with a bullet of things I absolutely despise, things the thing that just absolutely makes my stomach turn, and it drives me nuts. And people always ask me, well, why? Why do you hate the Leafs? What did the Leafs ever do to you? What did the Leafs ever, they never played the Canucks in the playoffs or the finals? Why do you hate the Leafs so much? It's simple. And people around Western Canada or the rest of Canada could agree with me. It's the over coverage of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, I am trying to break into the media industry myself. And I understand Toronto is the biggest market in Canada, has the most population, the most money, the most jobs, and the Leafs are an original six franchise. I understand that. But growing up as a child and growing up in Vancouver and seeing, the Leafs just profusely shoved down your throat and down your throat and down your throat and down your throat when they were not a very good team. Ever since I've watched hockey, the Leafs have made to the conference finals once in 2002 against the Carolina Hurricanes. And that was at the very beginning of my hockey fandom. Ever since then, this team has done absolutely nothing, yet consistently, day after day, night after night, what is the lead story everywhere across Canada? The Toronto Maple Leafs. And for people growing up in other parts of the country that don't understand that, it absolutely makes you sick. And the other thing is the fans. Leaf fans are the most delusional fan base known to mankind. Every year they get up thinking that it's their year, it's their year, it's their year, when in fact it is never their year. And quite frankly, after I saw what happened in game one, people were saying, oh, the Leafs shed that, their soft label. It's one game one. Yet people are getting all fired up. I don't understand it. I can't fathom it. It drives me nuts. It makes me sick to my stomach. The Toronto Maple Leafs are the most overhyped, overanalyzed, overglorified franchise. I understand when people glorify the Montreal Canadiens because at least since post expansion, when there was more than 6 teams, they've won a Stanley Cup. Since 1967, the Leafs have made 0 Stanley Cup finals. The Canucks have made 3. The Canucks have the same amount of Stanley Cups as the Toronto Maple Leafs, 0. The Leafs are not an historical brand. They're not the Detroit Red Wings. They're not the Chicago Blackhawks. They are not the New York Rangers. They are not the Montreal Canadiens. Hell, they are not even the Edmonton Oilers. Look, other than Matt Sundin, Daryl Sittler, and maybe Doug Gilmour, who are the transcendent, great, iconic players the Leafs have ever had? Yeah, maybe they have Austin Matthews right now, which he's a great goal scorer, but I don't know if he's transcendent. I don't. And don't hate on me for that, but I don't think he's transcendent. The Leafs have had nothing to cheer about for how long? Now, maybe they're like the Chicago Cubs in a sense where they're the lovable losers, but in my sense, I don't love the Leafs. And I don't think most people in Vancouver love the Leafs. That's why it makes me sick to my stomach that every time they come to Vancouver on a Saturday night, game has to be at 4 o'clock. So people back east can watch it at an appropriate time. So yeah, that's my little rant on the Leafs. They don't sit well and sit pretty in my stomach. So just going, and plus, I never want to see the Leafs win. I never do. After the Canucks win a cup, then maybe I can let it slide. But as of right now, I never want to see the Leafs win a Stanley Cup because I don't think the world could handle the amount of trash shoved down our throat about the Leafs and how great they are. So regardless, look, the Leafs are going to lose to the Tampa Bay Lightning in 7 games. The Leafs just don't have that it factor. And Andrei Vasilevsky is a big money player, and he's going to come back with a vengeance in this series. And the Leafs will not be able to close it out because Andrei Vasilevsky, Victor Hedman, Nikita Kucherov, Braden Point, Steven Stamkos, and these guys will know. They've been there. They've done that. They've gone through all the battles, all the wars. They will pull it out in 7 games. So, my Western Conference my Eastern Conference predictions. First round is Washington, Tampa, Carolina, Pittsburgh. Second round, we're going to go with the Tampa Bay Lightning to beat the Washington Capitals just because they're a better team. We're going to go with the Carolina Hurricanes to beat the Pittsburgh Penguins, setting up the Tampa Bay Lightning and Carolina Hurricanes. And the Carolina Hurricanes will just have a little bit more gas in the tank to get past the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they will win this series. So coming up after the break, I'm going to go into my Western Conference predictions. And again, kind of let you guys know what's going on in the West and how I feel as a Canucks fan going forward. But first, I want to talk to you guys about Rock Auto. This episode, of course, is brought to you by Rock Auto. With the ever increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible to find your local chain, auto parts store to hold all stock of all parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questions and wait while the person behind the computer orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to Rock Auto at home and in your pocket. You save time and money using Rock Auto. Why spend 30, 50, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Go explore their easy to use website today to find solutions for your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now to see all the parts available for your car or truck, right locked on in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. Okay, so Western Conference predictions quickly before I want to go into our greatest Canucks segment, which I am very excited for. And once again, I want to thank you guys for all making Locked On Canucks your first listen of the day. For your next listen of the day, check out Locked On Now podcast, nightly recaps of every NHL game with analysis from our local experts. And of course, it's free and available wherever you get your podcast services. Okay, Western Conference quickly, because I want to get into the greatest Canuck of all time series because I'm very excited for it. In the West, the Central Division, easy. Colorado is the best team in the conference. They will run through Nashville, no problem. 5 games tops. St. Louis has been playing excellent hockey of late. Again, another veteran team that's been there, done that. They will go through Minnesota in 6 games. Dallas versus Calgary. Look, I don't want to see Calgary win this first round. I hate the Flames. Not as much as I hate the Leafs, but I really don't like the Flames for various reasons. Just the rivalry between Vancouver and Calgary, the playoff heartaches they've caused me in my life. And quite frankly, I just hate the sea of red. I hate their logo. I hate the Saddle Dome. I just don't, it makes me sick to my stomach. But Calgary will win this round because Dallas is not that good of a team. Calgary will win. I mean, I still got love for Jacob Markstrom and Chris Tanev, although the Flames think they can somehow beat the Canucks. I think Calgary as a city wishes they were Vancouver. They're kind of like that little brother across the mountain that looks over and wishes, they were as beautiful as us, as much as nice of a city as us, as cosmopolitan of a city as us, but they're not. So quite frankly, they think they can be us. They want to be like us, but they ain't us. So the Flames will win this series simply because they have a better team. But I also want to see this in the second round. The Kings versus the Oilers. Look, the Oilers have the 2 of the 3 or 4 best players in the league, in my opinion, Leon Draisaitl and, of course, Connor McDavid. But their goaltending is an extreme issue. Mike Smith is not very good. And I think if Edmonton had a competent goalie, anybody, hell, even Alex Auld in his day was a competent goalie. If they had a competent goalie, they would be in the Western Conference Finals every year. They have the 2 of the 3 or 4 best players in the league that are unstoppable. But with that being said, LA's, surprised a lot of people. Kopitar had kind of a resurgence. You have guys like Iafallo. You have, even they're playing without Drew Doughty. So look, I think the Oilers get this done, but it's going to be a very tight series. That's tighter than it should be. And I think that has all the things to do with goaltending. Look, the goaltending is going to be a huge problem, but the Oilers will pull it out and prevail, in my opinion. They will get it done in 6 games against the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Los Angeles Kings. So in the West, I have Colorado, St. Louis, Calgary, and Edmonton. So that sets it up beautifully the second round, where we get to see the Battle of Alberta. And all hockey fans want to see the Battle of Alberta in the second round, the physicality, the rivalry. And I want to see Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl run through the Calgary Flames. Because let's face it, Johnny Gaudreau, good player. Matthew Tkachuk, good player. They are not Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Look, Jacob Markstrom, better goalie than Mike Smith for sure. But when it matters the most, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl will be better. Evander Kane has been a revelation to Edmonton. Darnell Nurse is a top defenseman. I think the Edmonton Oilers will be a 7-game slugfest with the Calgary Flames, and they will prevail, and they will go to the Western Conference Finals to take on the Colorado Avalanche, where the Colorado Avalanche will then sweep the Edmonton Oilers out of the playoffs in 4 games because they are just too deep. And yes, the Avs will beat the Blues in probably 6 games. That'll be a very heavy series, but again, Colorado is just too deep of a team, and they'll have the success that they need to pull this out. So I have Colorado and Carolina in the finals, and I'm going to go with the Carolina Hurricanes simply because it's going to be a war to get through the West. And it's going to be a war to get through the East too, but I think Carolina will be a little bit more healthier than Colorado at that particular point, and they will pull it out and be able to win the Stanley Cup, their second Stanley Cup post-lockout, which is kind of embarrassing that a market like Raleigh, Carolina. Great fans out there, I'm sure. Great fans, Storm Surge, all of that. I love and respect all that. But they got 2 cups before we got any in Vancouver, which makes me quite sad. But at least they have they have more than the Leafs too. So coming up after this final break, we're gonna talk about the greatest Canuck. We go to the first Canuck, in our greatest Canuck series. But first, I'm gonna talk to you guys about Built Bar. Summer is incoming, and summer is coming. Summer is coming and incoming. And with summer, you're going to need some food on the go. Built Bars are the perfect snack to take with you on family vacations. Throw them in your bags, your kids' backpacks, and make sure that everyone has a bar so you are fueled for your summer adventures. The best part about Built Bars, they're healthy and delicious. No more sacrificing delicious food for health. With Built Bar, you can have both. It's easy. All you have to do is go to built.com and order now. All Built Bars and Puffs are covered in 100% real chocolate, which for a guy with a sweet tooth like me is amazing. Have you ever tried the Built Puffs yet? They are absolutely amazing. I have them every day. You know, banana cream pie, churro. It tastes amazing, and they're only 140 calories. You got to sign me up, right? You got to sign yourself up after hearing that. Excuse me. If that's not enough, they have 12 more flavors. They make sure there's something for everyone. Like I said, the Puffs are my favorite. They contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar that has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. Go to builtbar.com to get your favorite banana cream pie, raspberry double chocolate, and so many more. They're delicious, and all new flavors are coming out all the time. So check out built.com. Also, go to built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Okay. It's the final segment of the show and the most important segment of the show, Canucks fans, because this is the first day of the greatest Canucks series where I'm going to go through the history of the Canucks, the era of the Canucks, and give you guys players who are the greatest of this franchise's 52-year history, and that were just pillars of the organization. Now they will be members, not just players, off ice members of the organization as well. But today, we are going to go with the very first captain of the Vancouver Canucks, who led them to the Stanley Cup Finals. And that was one Stan Smyl, the man who came in from the New Westminster Bruins, a local juggernaut for everybody that does not remember. This is way before my time, but you know, I do my research and my due diligence. And of course, me being the hockey Canucks freak I am, I know all about the New Westminster Bruins and their brilliance in the Western League back in the day. The Steamer was one of the catalysts of the New Westminster Bruins, and they won two back-to-back Memorial Cup champions in 77 and 78. He was drafted 40th overall by the Vancouver Canucks in the 1978 draft and played with the Canucks until 1991. Nicknamed the Steamer. He was the thing about Stan Smyl that made him so great was he wasn't, your Bure or Sedin or Naslin that put up gaudy stats. Even Trevor Linden, Stan Smyl was kind of a do-it-all, Mr. Everything. And I know it was kind of hard for people to like the Canucks back then or follow them, or for them to get national recognition, because quite frankly, they're going up against a time where the greatest team, the greatest dynasty ever assembled, potentially the Edmonton Oilers, just a province over, where breaking records consisted of many Hall of Famers, and the Canucks were kind of just the punching bag of them, except that magical run in 1982, where the Oilers were upset by the Los Angeles Kings, the Miracle in Manchester, and the Canucks went on a magical run to the Stanley Cup Finals, where they were swept in 1982 by another dynasty, the New York Islanders. But I believe that moment gave the Canucks and Vancouver a legitimacy, a sense of, we are here. We have done something now where we are at the table with everybody else. We are no longer just that franchise on the west coast of Canada that everybody kind of just rolls in through and everything like that. And Stan Smyl helped that. A leader, a fierce leader, a man that took zero prisoners, played 1,000% every time, went into the corners, was physical, but also scored goals. He scored 30 goals, almost scored, hit a couple. I think his career high was 38 goals back in 1982-83 and 88 points. Now, again, people say, well, that era, there was all these goals and stuff like that, but still, to score 38 goals, 34 goals in a season, and, consistently 20 plus goals in a career, that takes some doing. First year he had with excuse me. His second year, he had 31 goals. Then he had 25, 34, 38. And, he was a heart and soul guy. Led the league, led the Canucks in points, penalties, and goals one year, And he was a leader. He wasn't so much a talkative leader, but he's a leader by example. That is why when he retired back in 1991, it was just the right thing to do to retire his number, because he gave his whole body, his whole life, hockey-wise, to the Canucks and the Canucks organization. And that is why you see him now. He's still with the organization in a prominent role. Stan Smyl was the president of hockey ops during that time, being with the Canucks. And right now, he is the president of hockey operations. And he was, the president of hockey operations. Now he's the vice president of hockey operations, working with Jim Rutherford in this organization to help grow it. And he's just Mr. Canuck. He's done scouting, assistant coaching. He's done everything. And it's just absolutely fitting that he should be on this list. He is one of those guys that, laid the foundation of this organization. He might have, it was more than just points and stats with Stan Smyl. It was the heart and soul he gave to this organization. And for that, he will always be loved by Canucks fans, by Vancouver, by the province of BC for what he has done for this organization. So Stan Smyl, most definitely one of the greatest Canucks. I want to kind of start from the infancy. Look, there were guys in the 70s like Orland Kurtenbach, Andre Boudrias, all these guys. But at the end of the day, I thought Smyl would be the first guy, because that 82 run with Richard Brodeur, Tiger Williams, that was kind of the first this is it moment for Vancouver, where we had the center stage of the hockey world. It didn't end the way we wanted to end, but the fact those plucky Canucks were there, that's where Towel Power was born. Stan Smyl was front and center of that, so he deserves to be on this list. He deserves to have the recognition, his flowers, because he was the heart and soul of the Vancouver Canucks for decades, and he will always be a member of this organization. So that is number one, Stan Smyl. And I'm not ranking them in any order. I'm just kind of going through eras and the history of the franchise and at those certain times and who the greatest players are. So that was today's episode. Tomorrow's episode, we will dive into potentially some prospects. Let's kind of recap some of the playoff action, maybe some more Canucks news drops, and have our next greatest Canuck highlighted tomorrow. Once again, I want to thank you for making Locked On Canucks your first listen of the day. Tomorrow, like I said, will be another great episode. And I also make your second listen of the day Locked On NHL, from the first round matchups to each Stanley Cup kiss. Locked On NHL covers the playoffs like no other. Hear the latest news and opinions from local experts every Monday through Friday. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. All right, guys, stay safe and enjoy the playoff hockey.